Be ready. 15 seconds. It has been observed by planners and demographers that beyond an optimum level of urbanization, the rate of depletion of the surrounding hinterland becomes faster, eventually causing decay in urbanization and urban poverty. Hence, to sustain urbanization, it is required that it must be kept within the optimal limits. It has been observed that unequal distribution of population results in unequal distribution of resources are fast concentrating in the urban clusters. The urbanization in these countries has been faster than the rate of industrialization. It is more due to rising concentration of population. This has led to urban poverty, social tension, and crime. Unfortunately, when industrialized countries are giving up the large city norms, the developing countries are still continuing on the same trend. By 1990, 18 out of 24 largest cities of the world were in these countries. During the International Conference on Population and Development in 1994, it was apparent that there was greater realization among the developing countries about the interrelationship between the population and development. Low levels of technological progress coupled with rapid population growth was placing immense strain on the social and economic programs. There was unanimity on the issue that population growth must be balanced with sustainable socio-economic development and the regenerative capacity of the natural environment. It must be realized that the present generation of man is the trustee of entire biodiversity. We are also the custodians of the interests of future generations. Our teeming numbers can grow only at the cost of delicate balance in nature. A further increase in our numbers will encroach greatly upon the chances of our future generations. It is observed that persistent, widespread poverty and serious social inequalities do influence population growth and its distribution. Therefore, it is sought that the population should be integrated as a major issue in the development strategies and planning at all levels. All our calculations and policy initiatives will go haywire if we fail to integrate population issue in the broader development strategy. There is now a distinctive rise in social awareness on population issues. Majority of countries have formulated their perspective comprehensive population policies and population has become an issue high on their national agenda. In our campaign against the numbers, our focus has been to control the birth rate and linkage to a small family. We emphasize linkage between a small family norm and greater opportunities for human resources development. Beyond economic logic and policy, the problem has its sociological dimensions as well. We will have to focus on the major sociological factors that can influence the population issue. Social attitudes towards women is one such factor. Traditionally, women are deprived of a role in decision making at all levels, from family to the highest policy making fora. This attitude has to be changed. The need to give women decision making rights was recognized by the ICPD in 1994. Further, in Beijing at 4th World Women Conference, the need for overall empowerment of women was demanded. That includes education, health, employment opportunities, political and economic empowerment. All these areas have remained relegated to background for centuries. We have charged our family planning programs to more comprehensive family welfare programs on similar lines. I think more focused approach to women's empowerment is also required to supplement our policy initiatives in population stabilization. Achieving equality between men and women is an accepted global norm, and such a commitment by itself is a hallmark for a democratic civilized society. Further, it has been recognized that empowerment of women has a significant bearing over the demographic issues. At ICPD, it has been recognized that population and development programs are most effective when steps have simultaneously been taken to improve the status of women. Among the developing countries where a substantial part of the economy is in or unorganized sector, much of inputs and outputs of the workforce of women remain unrecognized. Women control most of the non monetary economy, like subsistence agriculture, domestic labor, and bearing and raising the children. They also play significant part in money economy, like household industries, informal sector, wage labor, etc. In spite of their contributions, the index of human development, like education, health, employment, and life expectancy, remain low in case of women. Ignoring the needs of women has resulted in uncontrolled population growth, high infant and child mortality rates, weak micro and macro level economy, and overall deterioration in the human development index and social development. Though they remain the basic cohesive force in the family and are the custodian of values in a traditional social milieu. Women have few choice in life outside the marriage and bearing and rearing of children. We cannot afford to exclude them from having equal opportunities as men in their life. They not only constitute about half of population but also influence the future generations more significantly. Investment in women should be seen in this light. It will mean better life. Sir, natural calamities seemed to be now a very regular feature. This year, there are several states which are seriously affected by drought. In some states, it is the second successive year of drought, and in some other states, it is almost the third successive year. It means that large sum of money will have to be provided, and I trust the priorities will be respected. We cannot go on putting up with a situation in which hundreds of thousands of villages today are without drinking water. Where from any drinking water is to be provided is not even known. The state governments do not know what to do with it. It is not money alone that matters though large sums of money will have to be provided to ensure that drinking water is made available to villages. The finance minister knows that farmers must be given remunerative price. Mr. Finance Minister, I would request your attention to this particular point. You have said that by giving remunerative prices to farmers in respect of sugar, you have seen immediately the result and the manner in which the sugar cultivation improved, increased, and you have larger sugar production. That is exactly what we say.